Hey, I'm live. Oh, I'm so sorry. It told me that nobody was waiting. So I just waited and then I thought I might as well start reading because, well, not start reading, but start the video, even though no one's here. There are two people here, so I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I was waiting for you, you were waiting for me. It was it's like home. It's like living at home again. So we are nearing the end of Dracula. And it has been a long and annoying road. We've all been on it together, much like characters of Dracula themselves. The vampire, the professor, the cowboy, the jock, the nerd, outcast, the robot, and Mrs. Miggins from the pie shop. I think that's the Holy Trinity. Hey John, what's up? I waited for you this morning playing Stardew Valley, but I figured you were busy after a little while, and so I gave the eel to the raccoon thing in the woods. Turns out it's a bear. They're all really important parts of the Holy Trinity. There's like 8 of them, but that too is a holy mystery. Checking out my makeup in the camera. I had some lipstick on before and it was just over the top. Danny, I'm so happy you're there. I miss you guys a lot. Oh, it was at dickhead o'clock this morning. I streamed Naibi's breakfast at about 7:30, which turned into Flora's breakfast, and then sort of nothing. And then I played a little bit of Stardew Valley, so that was about it. But you didn't really miss anything, because when I gave the eel to the fucked up wombat, which I have learned since as a bear, he ate it and demanded another fish in picture form. So I brought him the other fish, and now he wants a plate of escargot. Okay, so I understand a bear eating fish and wanting different kinds of fish. Why is he asking me for escargot? Who is this bear? Anyway, that raises a lot more questions than it answers, so maybe it'll be like a three fish in your good type quest, but I think I'm probably going to have to give him all of the fish in the game and all of the fish like dishes, and then maybe he'll do something for me. I don't know, and I don't want to look it up because it's really cool. It's new and exciting and everything. I know. And how is that thing a bear? I understand now that a bear wants fish. Like, I get that. But what kind of bears are these people looking at? Anyway, John and Danny and Nick are here, and 3 more who are silent. And just waiting for everyone to finish at lunch, pretty much. I didn't want to like DM or text or anything in case you guys had just gone back to bed, because I would have if I could have. So yeah, it's very exciting right now. It's exciting in terms of like the books that we're reading, not anything that's actually going on within my house. Although I have got all the cats fleed, so that's pretty impressive, I think. And what else? It was a fucked up wombat of the woods. When I clicked on him, a big picture of an eel came up above his head, and he put on the most deranged expression. And I was like, give the guy an eel. Then he wants a bream. Now he wants escargot. Sorry, I'm just checking. I can't hear cat noises behind me. As usual, we're going to do a recap, and then we're going to start reading the actual chapter at about 10 minutes in, which I think is fair to let everyone join who's going to join. Sorry. I figured out why I was so sniffly this morning. I was wearing a jersey that was like full of dust. I hadn't washed it like before I brought out the winter jerseys. So it was one of those problems that's really obvious, but wasn't to me because my mind wasn't working. Right. So, yesterday on Dracula, they have all split up into 3 groups because... Hey, Josh! I'm so glad you're here. I just... that Picard voice, and then the Roger Rabbit voice. I don't know about the others. I can't speak for their accuracy, but those 2, chef's kiss. Amazing. I should have done voices from the beginning. I should have done a different accent for Van Helsing per chapter from all around the world. And I definitely should have done... I know you're going to think I'm going to say Count von Count for Dracula, but no, I should have done Cookie Monster. My name Alistair Dracula. Welcome to Monsterpiece Theatre. You wake your boyfriend up with that voice once. I mean, he laughs eventually, but at first, that fucker's terrified. How am I single? Yeah, so last time they split up into 3 groups. Wuthering Heights is going to be hard enough with Joseph, the extremely... and Cookie Dracula. Anyway, so they're all in 3 parts, much like the season I did. All one divided into 3 parts. And then chasing Dracula right down the river. He's on a boat, presumably. And Lord Godalming, that's Arthur Homewood from the beginning, and Jonathan Harker, they're on a wee boat. They're also trekking up the river. I don't remember what I read yesterday that well, but anyway, they're on a boat coming up the river. Quincy Morris, the sexy American cowboy, is with Jack Seward, the creepy doctor. Well, that's what vampires do on TV. The blood goes everywhere. It's ridiculous. I was still thinking about Cookie Monster just going nuts on a dude and like really gory, awful. Hey, Super Bamps. Dracula has bitten Mina Harker, who is in the 3rd group, which is going by carriage. Her and Dr. Van Helsing. Professor Van Helsing, doesn't matter, they alternate. So they've gone... They're all sort of going by different roads to Castle Dracula, hoping to intercept Dracula on the way. Vampirism in this, it does seem to be viral. Like, it's not really implied anywhere that... Yeah, a lot of wanking about how rich they are, which kind of seems like somebody read the chapters and they were like, Bram, how is this going to work? And he's like, there was a lot of money, so don't worry about that. I'll put that in there. Yeah, social distancing would probably work on vampirism. Although Dracula uses hypnosis and gaslighting and turning into mist. So, yeah, he doesn't really give a shit about consent, so you can't really socially distance from him. Dr. Van Helsing. God, he's a bitch. Such a bitch. And Mina, head bitch in charge, is still owning the boys, left, right, and centre. She is working out with logic, reason, and railway timetables that she memorized where Dracula's going to be and when. And she can barely think because her brain is filling up with vampire chemicals. So, should have stuck with Mina from the very beginning, but oh no. I'll protect the lady. How well did that work? So yeah, we're in the last chapter and we're gonna have to say goodbye to all of our friends and all of the people we completely despise, like Dr. Seward and Professor Van Helsing. And Dracula, he kind of sucks as well. Okay, so we are 10 minutes in. Oh, I'm sniffling again. God damn, I'm allergic to this fucking book. I swear to God. Okay. Are you ready? Yeah, Team Mina. Team Mina on 3. Oh, okay. Not on 3. You can't all type it into the chat. It's stupid. What a gorgeous cretin. Chapter 27. Mina Harker's Journal. 1st of November. All day long we had travelled at a good speed. The horses seemed to know that they were being kindly treated, for they go willingly to their full stage at their seed. We have now had so many changes and find the same thing so constantly that we are encouraged to think the journey will be an easy one. Dr. Van Helsing is laconic. For once, he tells the farmers that he is hurrying to their streets and pays them well to get the exchange of orders. We get hot soup, coffee, or tea, and off we go. It is a lovely country, full of beauty of all imaginable kinds. The people are brave and strong and simple and seem full of nice qualities. They are very, very superstitious. Yeah, John, here are people. In the first house where we stopped, when the woman who served us saw the scar on my forehead, caused by the sacred host, let us remember. She crossed herself and got 2 fingers towards me without the evil eye. Just kidding, it was that one. I believe they went to the trouble of putting an extra amount of garlic into our food. I can't buy garlic. Ever since then, I've taken care not to take off my hat while so to escape their suspicions. We're travelling fast, and as we have no driver with us to carry tales, we go ahead of scandal. But I dare say that fear of the evil eye will follow hard behind us all the way. They travel fast. God damn it. All right, hang on. I'm going to plug in the external microphone. I know I didn't do it to start with, and I should have. But you know, I didn't. Okay, is that better? We got a better microphone, better noises. Yeah, probably. Almost definitely. I thought I'd closed everything in the background. That is good. No, I think I have all the open programs. I'm going to exit Steam completely and see if that helps. Oh, good, good. I think partly it's because everyone in New Zealand is on the internet all the time at the moment. We will start again. At what point did it start to get garbled? Was Was it the very superstitious peasants? Sounds like a children's book. The very superstitious peasants put out 2 fingers toward the evil eye, and 3 bulbs of garlic in Mina's food, and 4 signs of the cross when the carriage rode by, and I can't count higher than that. Okay, right at the beginning. We'll start from the beginning. Because it's Mina. I don't mind her voice. It's the best one. Oh, a piece of Nutrigrain. I found it in the couch. Good omens. Chapter 27. Mina Harker's journal. 1st of November. All day long we have travelled, and at a good speed. The horses seem to know that they are being kindly treated, for they go willingly their full stage at best speed. We have now had so many changes, and find the same things so constantly, that we are encouraged to think that the journey will be an easy one. Good so far? I'm going to hope that it's good so far. Dr. Van Helsing is laconic. That lactonic fuck. He tells the farmers that he is hurrying to Bistritz and pays them well to make the exchange of horses. Except for whatever that was that fell down. We get hot soup or coffee or tea and off we go. It is a lovely country, full of beauties of all imaginable kinds, and the people are brave and strong and simple, and seem full of nice qualities. They are very, very superstitious. In the first house where we stopped, when the woman who served us saw the scar on my forehead, she crossed herself and put out 2 fingers towards me to keep off the evil eye. I believe they went to the trouble of putting an extra amount of garlic into our food, and I can't abide garlic. Ever since then, I have taken care not to take off my hat or veil, and so have escaped their suspicions. We are travelling fast, and as we have no driver with us to carry tales, we go ahead of scandal, but I dare say that fear of the evil eye will follow hard behind us all the way. The professor seems tireless. All day he would not take any rest, though he made me sleep for a long spell. At sunset time he hypnotized me, and he says that I answered as usual, darkness, lapping water, and creaking wood, so our enemy is still on the river. I am afraid to think of Jonathan, but somehow I have now no fear for him or for myself. I write this whilst we wait in a farmhouse for the horses to be got ready. Dr. Van Helsing is sleeping. Poor dear, he looks very tired and old and grey, but his mouth is set as firmly as a conqueror's. Even in his sleep, he is instinct with resolution. When we have well started, I must make him rest whilst I drive. I shall tell him that we have days before us, and we must not break down when most of all his strength will be needed. ... All is ready. We are off shortly. And this time, having heard the words of the story, pretty good. Did you catch that they are travelling fast? Because we've heard about what kind of people travel fast in Dracula. I don't know. Maybe the wafer has like a little. Maybe it's like a coin and it has a little Jesus riding a horse on one side. Or maybe they just think that anyone with a facial scar probably has something wrong with them. Yeah, it's fast travel. I have a scar, much like Harry Potter. Oh, you can't see it. The shape of New Zealand. And it came about because I was 3 years old and I jumped on a cat who was asleep. 2nd of November, morning. I was successful and we took turns driving all night. Now the day is on us, bright but cold. There is a strange heaviness in the air. I say heaviness for want of a better word. I mean that it oppresses us both. It is very cold and only our warm furs keep us comfortable. At dawn, Van Helsing hypnotized me. He says I answered darkness, creaking wood, and roaring water, so the river is changing as they ascend. I do hope that my darling will not run any chance of danger, more than need be, but we are in God's hands. 2nd of November night, all day long driving. The country gets wilder as we go, and the great spurs of the Carpathians, which at Veresti seem so far from us and so low on the horizon, now seem to gather round us and tower in front. We both seem in good spirits. I think we make an effort each to cheer the other. In the doing so, we cheer ourselves. Dr. Van Helsing says that by morning we shall reach the Borgo Pass. The houses are very few here now, and the professor says that the last horse we got will have to go on with us, as we may not be able to change. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Weird, but cool. He got 2 in addition to the 2 we changed, so now we have a rude 4 in hand. I know you know it's a rude 4 in hand is funny. It just is. The dear horses are patient and good, and they give us no trouble. We're not worried with other travellers, and so even I can drive. Even I. Oh. Mina. Oh, hey, is the 8th person Evelyn and Di and everybody? Because if it is, all you've missed is Mina talking about a lot of driving. Hey! Mina and Dracula are just driving and driving. Or not. Mina and Van Helsing, not Mina and Dracula. That would have been worth recapping. What was I going to say? Can't remember. Yeah, we're the rude audience. Yeah, exactly. Sniffling again. Allergic to misogyny. We're not worried with other travellers, and so even I can drive. We shall get to the pass in daylight. We do not want to arrive before. So we take it easy and have each a long rest and return. Oh my god, it is a D&D campaign. Oh, what will tomorrow bring to us? We go to seek the place where my poor darling suffered so much. God grant that we may be guided aright, and that he will deign to watch over my husband, and those dear to us both, and who are in such deadly peril. As for me, I am not worthy in his sight. Alas, I am unclean to his eyes, and shall be, until he may deign to let me stand forth in his sight, as one of those who have not incurred his wrath. I want to reach through the page and grab Mina and give her a shake. You didn't do anything wrong, Mina. Mina. You are the best of them. Kill the men. Become a vampire. Kill all the men. Keep Jono around. He's obedient. Take over Castle Dracula. Rule with blood. Bring about a feminist industrial revolution where all the trains have big breasts. I don't really know what a feminist industrial revolution would look like. I've got no idea. Anyway, memorandum by Abraham Van Helsing. God, he even writes on his stupid accent. 4th of November. This to my old and true friend, John Seward, MD of Purfleet, London, in case I may not see him. It may explain. It is morning, and I write by a fire which all the night I have kept alive, Madam Mina aiding me. It is cold, cold, so cold that the grey, heavy sky is full of snow, which when it falls will settle for all winter as the ground is hardening to receive it. It seems to have affected Madam Mina. She has been so heavy of head all day that she was not like herself. She sleeps and sleeps and sleeps. She, who is usual so alert, have done literally nothing all the day. She have even lost her appetite. She make no entry into her little diary, she who writes so faithful at every pause. Something whisper to me that all is not well. However, tonight she is more vif. Lively. Her long sleep all day have refreshed and restore her, for now she is all sweet and bright as ever. At sunset, I tried to hypnotize her, but alas, with no effect. The power has grown less and less with each day, and tonight it failed me altogether. Well, God's will be done, whatever it may be, and whithersoever it may lead. Professor Van Helsing, you do not get to use words like whithersoever and then say, this him notebook, him explain idea, me foreign. You don't get to do that shit. I want to reach through the pages and shake him, but, not for any reason, just... I know. Although, I do like the Netflix series, Van Helsing. I've always thought it would be really, really funny if you were fighting a vampire to try and bite it. And it is. It's hilarious. It's a good show. I mean, it's not prestige television, but it's good. Van Helsing has a word a day app. Today it was whithersoever. Now to the historical, for as Madame Mina write not in her stenography, I must, in my cumbrous old fashion, that so each day of us may not go unrecorded. Cumbrous. You cumbrous stenographer. You cumbrous old fuck. We got to the Borgo Pass just after sunrise yesterday morning. When I saw the signs of the dawn, I got ready for the hypnotism. We stopped our carriage and got down so that there might be no disturbance. I made a couch with furs, and Madame Mina, lying down, yielded herself as usual, but more slow and more short time than ever, to the hypnotic sleep. As before came the answer, darkness and the swirling of water. Then she woke, bright and radiant, and we go on our way and soon reach the pass. At this time and place, she become all on fire with zeal. Some new guiding power be in her manifested, for she point to a road and say, this is the way. How know you it? I ask. Of course I know it, she answer, and with a pause add, have not my Jonathan travelled it, and wrote of his travel? At first I think it somewhat strange, but soon I see that there be only one such by-road. It is used but little, and very different from the coach road from the Bukovina to Bistritz, which is more wide and hard, and more of use. I can't, even Victorian writers say rude stuff all the time by accident because, language changes, and now we find it funny because we're incredibly immature, and the world's on fire and we have no hope. But, it's a road which is more wide and hard and more of use. He's doing it on purpose. I think he is. So we come down this road. When we meet other ways, not always were we sure that they were roads at all, for they be neglect, and light snow have fallen. The horses know, and they only. I give rein to them, and they go on so patient. By and by we find all things which Jonathan have note in that wonderful diary of him. That diary of him. You might notice that I'm reducing the professor's accent every time. So you still know it's him talking and he's still really annoying, but it's not quite as difficult for me to actually. Then we go on for long, long hours and hours. At the first, I tell Madame Mina to sleep. She try and she succeed. She sleep all the time till at the last I feel myself too suspicious grow and attempt to wake her. But she sleep on, and I may not wake her though I try. I do not wish to try too hard, lest I harm her, for I know that she have suffered much, and sleep at times be all in all to her. I think I drowse myself, for all of a sudden I feel guilt as though I have done something. I find myself bolt up, with the reins in my hand, and the good horses go along jog, jog, just as ever. I look down and find Madame Mina still asleep. It is now not far off sunset time, and over the snow the light of the sun flow in big yellow flood, so that we throw great long shadow on where the mountain rise so steep, for we are going up, and all is oh so wild and rocky, as though it were the end of the world. Oh, Christ, he's given almost the whole chapter to Van Helsing to narrate. Oh, Mina. Oh, Mina, why didn't you write all this shit down? Then I aroused Madame Mina. This time she waked with not much trouble. Everyone likes to be woken aroused. They don't. They just, I'm going to leave this whole line of. This time she waked with not much trouble, and when I tried to put her to hypnotic sleep, but she sleep not, being as though I were not. Still I try, till all at once I find her and myself in dark. So I look around and find that the sun hath gone down. Madame Mina laugh, and I turn and look at her. She is now quite awake, and looks so well as I never saw her since that night at Carfax when we first entered the Count's house. I am amazed and not at ease then, but she is so bright and tender and thoughtful for me that I forget all fear. I light a fire, for we have brought supply of wood with us, and she prepare food while I undo the horses and set them, tethered and sheltered, to feed. Then when I return to the fire, she have my supper ready. I go to help her, but she smile and tell me that she have eat already, that she was so hungry that she would not wait. I like it not, and I have grave doubts, but I fear to affright her, and so I am silent of it. She help me, and I eat alone, and then we wrap in fur and lie beside the fire, and I tell her to sleep while I watch. But presently I forget all of watching, and when I sudden remember that I watch, I find her lying quiet but awake, and looking at me with so bright eyes. Once, twice more the same occur, and I get much sleep till before morning. When I wake, I try to hypnotize her, but alas, though she shut her eyes obedient, she may not sleep. The sun rise up and up and up, and then sleep come to her too late, but so heavy that she will not wake. I have to lift her up and place her sleeping in the carriage when I have harnessed the horses and made all ready. Madam still sleep, and she look in her sleep more healthy and more redder than before, and I like it not. And I am afraid, I am afraid of all things. Even to think, but I must go on my way. The stake we play for is life and death, or more than these, and we must not flinch. Oh yeah, pretty sure Mina's getting a good feed. Should make a movie called Mina Forever. People wouldn't get it. Not enough people have seen Nina Forever. Should watch Nina Forever again. It's a good movie. 5th of November morning. Let me be accurate in everything, for though you and I have seen some strange things together, you may at the first think that I, Van Helsing, am mad, that the many horrors and the so long strain on nerves has at the last turned my brain. Yeah, you may finally think you're mad. All yesterday we travelled, ever getting closer to the mountains and moving into a more and more wild and desert land. There are great frowning precipices and much falling water, and nature seemed to have held sometime her carnival. Madame Mina still sleep, and though I did have hunger and appeased it, I could not awaken her, even for food. I began to fear that the fatal spell of the place was upon her, tainted as she is with that vampire baptism. He's beginning to fear it, guys. He'll have figured it out some point in the next 50 years. Well, said I to myself, if it be that she sleep all the day, it shall also be that I do not sleep at night. Why have you been sleeping at night, Van Helsing? I think... Look, in any horror movie and in life, you should probably have the buddy system. Not 2 people together, but 3. Always 3. Because if one of you's a vampire and 2 of you aren't, you've got a chance. If 2 of you are vampires and 1 of you isn't, you've got no chance. So, you know. Oh yeah, he's up doing his doing his vocab. The Duolingo owl is looking plumper and redder all the time. Ugh, that owl. Yeah, she's yeah, I would find this less believable if it wasn't, Victorian times. I think he just probably has a bunch of like cocaine powder that Freud's always drinking and that thing about Freud where he solves crimes. I don't know. As we travel on the rough road, for a road of an ancient and imperfect kind there was, I held down my head and slept. Again I waked with a sense of guilt and of time past, and found Madame Mina still sleeping and the sun low down. But all was indeed changed. The frowning mountains seemed further away, and we were near the top of a steep rising hill, on summit of which was such a castle as Jonathan tell of in his diary. At once I exulted and feared, for now, for good or ill, the end was near. I woke Madame Mina and again tried to hypnotize her, but alas, unavailing till too late. Then, ere the great dark come upon us, for even after down sun the heavens reflected the gone sun on the snow, and all was for a time in a great twilight, I took out the horses and fed them in what shelter I could. Then I make a fire, and near it I make Madame Mina, now awake and more charming than ever, sit comfortable amid her rugs. I got ready food, but she would not eat, simply saying that she had not hunger. I'm sure she doesn't. I did not press her, knowing her unavailingness. Unavailingness. He does have a language app. But I myself eat, for I must needs now be strong for all. Then, with the fear on me for what might be, I drew a ring so big for her comfort round where Madame Mina sat, and over the ring I passed some of the wafer, and I broke it fine so that all was well guarded. She sat still all the time, so still as one dead, and she grew whiter and ever whiter till the snow was not more pale, and no word she said. But when I drew near, she clung to me, and I could know that the poor soul shook her from head to feet with a tremor that was pain to feel. I said to her presently, when she had grown more quiet, "Will you not come over to the fire?" For I wished to make a test of what she could. She rose obedient, but when she had made a step, she stopped, and stood as one stricken. "Why not go on?" I asked. She shook her head, and coming back, sat down in her place. Then, looking at me with open eyes, as of one waked from sleep, she said simply, "I cannot," and remained silent. I rejoiced, for I knew that what she could not, none of those that we dreaded could. Though there might be danger to her body, yet her soul was safe. Is it? He's trapped, basically a vampire, in a circle of communion wafer. The other vampires can't cross it, but Mina can't cross it. So if she dies in there, how would her soul be safe? Would she not just come back as a vampire again? We've never liked Van Helsing at the best of times. He has not been the brains of the operation. Presently the horses began to scream and tore at their tethers till I came to them and quieted them. When they did feel my hands on them, they whinnied low as in joy, and licked at my hands and were quiet for a time. Many times through the night did I come to them, till it arrived to the cold hour when all nature is at lowest, and every time my coming was with quiet of them. In the cold hour the fire began to die, and I was about stepping forth to replenish it. Replenish, you fuck. For now the snow came in flying sweeps, and with it a chill mist. Even in the dark there was a light of some kind, as there ever is over snow, and it seemed as though the snow flurries and the wreaths of mist took shape as of women with trailing garments. Oh, what a mystery. Oh, sorry, I thought I had a cat. What a mystery. All was in dead, grim silence, only that the horses whinnied and cowered, as if in terror of the worst. I began to fear, horrible fears. But then came to me the sense of safety in that ring wherein I stood. I began, too, to think that my imaginings were of the night, and the gloom and the unrest that I have gone through, and all the terrible anxiety. It was as though my memories of all Jonathan's horrid experience were befooling me, for the snowflakes and the mist began to wheel and circle round, till I could get as though a shadowy glimpse of those women that would have kissed him. They would have done more than that, Van Helsing. And then the horses cowered lower and lower, and moaned in terror as men do in pain. Even the madness of fright was not to them, so that they could break away. I feared for my dear Madame Mina, when these weird figures drew near and circled round. I looked at her, but she sat calm and smiled at me. And when I would have stepped to the fire to replenish it, she caught me and held me back, and whispered, like a voice that one hears in a dream, so low it was, "No, no, do not go without. Here you are safe." I turned to her, and looking in her eyes, said, "But you, it is for you that I fear." Whereat she laughed, a laugh low and unreal, and said, "Fear for me? Why fear for me? None safer in all the world from them than I am." And as I wondered at the meaning of her words, a puff of wind made the flame leap up, and I see the red scar on her forehead. Then, alas, I knew. Then you knew. Oh, Nina Forever's a fantastic movie. I love it. I always recommend it. Van Helsing, my God. I think he started pretending to be vaguely foreign when he couldn't graduate from any kind of school, even a Victorian medical school, because he just cannot understand anything. The world is just shapes and colors and noises. Did I not know, I would soon have learned, for the wheeling figures of mist and snow came closer, but keeping ever without the holy circle. Then they began to materialize till, if God have not taken away my reason, for I saw it through my eyes, there were before me in actual flesh the same 3 women that Jonathan saw in the room where they would have kissed his throat. I knew the swaying round forms, the bright hard eyes, the white teeth, the ruddy colour, the voluptuous lips. They smiled ever at poor dear Madame Mina, and as their laugh came through the silence of the night, they twined their arms and pointed to her, and said in those so sweet tingling tones that Jonathan said were of the intolerable sweetness of the water glasses, "Come, sister, come to us. Come, come." In fear I turned to my poor Madame Mina, and my heart with gladness leapt like flame, for oh, the terror in her sweet eyes, the repulsion, the horror, told a story to my heart that was all of hope. God be thanked that she was not yet of them. I seized some of the firewood which was by me, and holding out some of the wafer, advanced on them towards the fire. They drew back before me and laughed their low, horrid laugh. I fed the fire and feared them not, for I knew that we were safe within our protections. They could not approach me whilst so armed, nor Madame Mina whilst she remained within the ring, which she could not leave no more than they could enter. The horses had ceased to moan and lay still on the ground. The snow fell on them softly, and they grew whiter. I knew that there was for the poor beasts no more of terror. Well, okay. In Van Helsing's defense, Mina didn't know when she was being Draculaed, and she had a brain in her head. So it seems like being the victim of a vampire, it brings its own kind of selective brain fog. But Van Helsing didn't really need it. Oh, wouldst thou like to live deliciously, Madam Mina? I mean, she said no before, but now, could be different now. She's seen the sister wives. She's seen the big castle. I mean, would it be that bad? And so we remained till the red of dawn to fall through the snow gloom. I was desolate and afraid and full of woe and terror. But when that beautiful sun began to climb the horizon, life was to me again. At the first coming of the dawn, the horrid figures melted in the whirling mist and snow. The wreaths of transparent gloom moved away from the castle and were lost. Instinctively, with the dawn coming, I turned to Madam Mina, intending to hypnotize her, but she lay in a deep and sudden sleep from which I could not wake her. I tried to hypnotize through her sleep, but she made no response, none at all, and the day broke. I fear yet to stir. I have made my fire and have seen the horses. They are all dead. Today I have much to do here, and I keep waiting till the sun is up high, for there may be places where I must go where that sunlight, though snow and mist obscure it, will be to me a safety. I will strengthen me with breakfast, and then I will to my terrible work. Madam Mina still sleeps, and God be thanked, she is calm in her sleep. ... Oh, and now, God be thanked once again, is the end of Van Helsing's bit. And when I say God be thanked, I obviously don't mean because, it's on Prime, nice. The brain fog, the day sleep, the fact that she's looking pretty well fed, you haven't seen her eat anything, and the fact that you keep waking up feeling erotically guilty. Yes. I mean, Mina was keeping her own diary and she didn't actually twig to the fact that she was being Draculaed. So, sorry, I did that right by the microphone. Yeah, exactly. And Van Helsing's like, at first when I saw those vampire mist wraiths come towards me from the whirling snow, I thought, I must be sleepy. I'm thinking about some different vampire mist wraiths that came to Jonathan, but that was inside the castle, and it happened to a different man. This is just imagination. Yep. I'm not drinking it diluted. I should, but I'm not. Not today. Today is my day before outing day. Under lockdown, that is the furthest between outings. And I'm very excited for my outing tomorrow. I mean, I could go for a walk, but actually, yeah, because I mucked it up. I wonder if my psychiatrist has put my new prescription into the pharmacy today. So, sorry, that's not Dracula. That's not Dracula. That's Jonathan Harker's journal. 4th of November evening. The accident to the launch has been a terrible thing for us. Their wee boat going up the... Yeah, drug day. Groceries day. Ooh, shopping. I impulse shop, like little things. Things worth a couple, $3. But I impulse buy when I'm anxious. And it's impossible to do now. I'm going to do it tomorrow, I tell you what. Sorry, Jonathan Harker's journal, 4th of November evening. The accident to the launch has been a terrible thing for us. Only for it we should have overtaken the boat long ago, and by now my dear Mina would have been free. I fear to think of her off on the wolds near that horrid place. We've got horses and we follow on the track. I note this while Gadami is getting ready. We have our arms, the Sagani. Why do I never look this word up? Must look out if they mean fight. Oh, if only Morris and Seward were with us. We must only hope. If I write no more, goodbye, Mina. God bless and keep you. Oh, fuck yes. I'm getting my chocolate on. I'm getting. Your mum told you not to eat too much chocolate while you're in lockdown on Easter. The fuck else are you going to be doing? What else is anyone going to be doing? Masturbating. You can do both at the same time. I'm trying to say this in a way that wouldn't offend you, but I want to push your mother down a staircase onto another staircase. Bloody right. So you should be. Yeah. We're going to talk about that later. And just for the sake of YouTube, that was obviously not a genuine death threat. That's ridiculous. I wish I had looked up how to pronounce this word. Dr. Seward's diary, 5th November. With the dawn, we saw the body of Sagani before us, dashing away from the river with their lighter wagon. They surrounded it in a cluster and hurried along as though beset. It's just a light wagon. The snow is falling lightly, and there is a strange excitement in the air. It may be our own feelings, but the depression is strange. Far off, I hear the howling of wolves. The snow brings them down from the mountains, and there are dangers to all of us, and from all sides. The horses are nearly ready, and we are soon off. We ride to death of someone. God alone knows who, or where, or what, or when, or how it may be. ... We ride to the death of someone. Pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, every time I look at that comment, I get furious. We're going to talk. You and me, Danny. Obviously not me and your mother. That's... Dr. Van Helsing's memorandum. 5th of November afternoon. I am at least sane. Thank God for that mercy at all events, though the proving it has been dreadful. When I left Madame Mina sleeping within the holy circle, I took my way to the castle. The blacksmith hammer, which I took in the carriage from Veresti, was useful. Though the doors were all open, I broke them off the rusty hinges, lest some ill intent or ill chance should close them, so that being entered, I might not get out. Jonathan's bitter experience served me here. By memory of his diary, I found my way to the old chapel, for I knew that here my work lay. The air was oppressive. It seemed as if there was some sulphurous fume, which at times made me dizzy. Either there was a roaring in my ears, or I heard afar off the howl of wolves. Then I bethought me of my dear Madame Mina, and I was in terrible plight. The dilemma had me between his horns. Dilemma's had Mina between his horns, if you know what I mean. The dilemma is Dracula, and the horns are the two, because Dracula's got two. Doesn't matter. Her I had not dared to take into this place, but left safe from the vampire in that holy circle, and yet even there would be the wolf. I resolved me that my work lay here, and that as to the wolves we must submit, if it were God's will. At any rate, it was only death and freedom beyond. So did I choose for her. Had it been for myself, the choice had been easy. The more of the wolf were better to rest in than the grave of the vampire. So I make my choice to go on with my work. I knew that there were at least 3 graves to find, graves that are in habit, and so I search, and I find one of them. She lay in her vampire sleep, so full of life and voluptuous beauty that I shudder as though I have come to do murder. I doubt not that in old time, when such things were, many a man who set forth to do such a task as mine found at the last his heart fail him, and then his nerve. So he delay and delay and delay, till the mere beauty and the fascination of the wanton undead have hypnotized him, and he remain on and on till sunset come, and the vampire sleep be over. Then the beautiful eyes of the fair woman open and look love, and the voluptuous mouth present to a kiss, and man is weak. And there remain one more victim in the vampire fold, one more to swell the grim and grisly ranks of the undead. ... Van Helsing is going into a lot of detail about this fantasy that he's having. Ironically, as he is losing time staring at the vampire. There is some fascination, surely, when I am moved by the mere presence of such a one, even lying as she lay in a tomb fretted with age and heavy with the dust of centuries, though there be that horrid odour such as the lairs of the Count have had. Yes, I was moved. I, Van Helsing, with all my purpose and with my motive, hate. I was moved to a yearning for delay, which seemed to paralyze my faculties and to clog my very soul. It may have been that the need of natural sleep and the strange oppression of the air were beginning to overcome me. Certain it was that I was lapsing into sleep, the open-eyed sleep of one who yields to a sweet fascination, when there came through the snow-stilled air a long, low wail, so full of woe and pity that it woke me like the sound of a clarion, for it was the voice of my dear Madam Mina that I heard. Now we know that open-eyed sleep as watching video games or binging Netflix, but back then you could only really get it by looking at a vampire for ages. Then I braced myself again to my horrid task, and found by wrenching away tomb tops one other of the sisters, the other dark one. I dared not pause to look on her as I had on her sister, lest once more I should begin to be enthralled. But I go on searching until presently I find in a high great tomb, as if made to one much beloved, that other fair sister which, like Jonathan, I had seen to gather herself out of the atoms of the mist. She was so fair to look on, so radiantly beautiful, so exquisitely voluptuous, that the very instinct of man in me, which calls some of my sex to love and to protect one of hers, made my head whirl with new emotion. But God be thanked, that soul wail of my dear Madam Mina had not died out of my ears, and before the spell could be wrought further upon me, I had nerved myself to my wild work. By this time I had searched all the tombs of the chapel, so far as I could tell, and as there had been only 3 of these undead phantoms around us in the night, I took it that there were no more of active undead existent. Idiot. There was one great tomb, more lordly than all the rest. Huge it was, and nobly proportioned. On it was but one word: Dracula. He is being so horny on Maine, but the thing is, he's using the same word all the time. It's always voluptuous. I mean, what happened to your word a day app? Do you just call all the gorgeous vampires voluptuous? I mean, they're going to compare notes. You're going to look weird. This, then, was the undead home of the king vampire, to whom so many more were due. Its emptiness spoke eloquent to make certain what I knew. Before I began to restore these women to their dead selves through my awful work, I laid in Dracula's tomb some of the wafer, and so banished him from it, undead, forever. Oh yeah, I was just restoring these women to their dead selves. I don't think that was murder. Yeah, they've got good boobs. The first draft of this was just, I looked at the vampire and then I was like, boobs. And I looked up and it was like sunset, crazy. And I looked at another vampire and I was like, this one's also got boobs. It was crazy. I bet some guys who aren't as strong as me would have just kept looking at the boobs. Just Van Helsing's constant love affair with himself, his great legend. Anyway, then began my terrible task, and I dreaded it. Had it been but one, it had been easy, comparative. But three, to begin twice more after I had been through a deed of horror. For if it was terrible with the sweet Miss Lucy, what would it not be with these strange ones who had survived through centuries, and who had been strengthened by the passing of the years, who would, if they could, have fought for their foul lives. ... Yeah, it's not murder. I was restoring the women to their dead selves via some awful work that I did. No one understands, because I'm foreign. I am of foreign country come. Oh, my friend John, but it was butcher work. Had I not been nerved by thoughts of other dead and of the living, over whom hung such a pall of fear, I could not have gone on. I tremble and tremble even yet, though till all was over, God be thanked, my nerve did stand. And my elderly Dick remained erect. Probably, parentheses. Had I not seen the repose in the first place, and the gladness that stole over it just ere the final dissolution came, as realization that the soul had been won, I could not have gone further with my butchery. I could not have endured the horrid screeching as the stake drove home, the plunging of writhing form, and lips of bloody foam. I should have fled in terror and left my work undone. But it is over. And the poor souls, I can pity them now and weep, as I think of them, placid each in her full sleep of death, for a short moment ere fading. For, friend John, hardly had my knife severed the head of each, before the whole body began to melt away and crumble into its native dust, as though the death that should have come centuries agone had at last assert himself and say at once and loud, I am here. Before I left the castle, I so fixed its entrances that never more can the Count enter there undead. I think he knows all the entrances a castle has. A castle in a war-torn area, which is most areas. Otherwise you wouldn't need castles, would you? When I stepped into the circle where Madame Mina slept, she woke from her sleep, and seeing me, cried out in pain that I had endured too much. Come, she said, come away from this awful place. Let us go to meet my husband, who is, I know, coming towards us. She was looking thin and pale and weak, but her eyes were pure and glowed with fervour. I was glad to see her paleness and her illness, for my mind was full of the fresh horror of that ruddy vampire sleep. And so, with trust and hope, and yet full of fear, we go eastward to meet our friends, and him, whom Madame Mina tell me that she know are coming to meet us. This is left a little bit ambiguous as to whether Mina was, who was Mina referring to as her husband? Van Helsing says they're both on their way, but he says it in such a way that it could have meant either. Oh, God be praised, it's a miracle. Mina Harker's journal. Love you, Mina. I'm just going to put on some lip balm before I do, though. Lip balm. It's Vaseline. Good. It's nice. The thrilling conclusion. Mina Harker's journal, 6th of November. It was late in the afternoon when the professor and I took our way towards the east, whence I knew Jonathan was coming. We did not go fast, though the way was steeply downhill, for we had to take heavy rugs and wraps with us. We dared not face the possibility of being left without warmth in the cold and the snow. We had to take some of our provisions too, for we were in a perfect desolation, and so far as we could see through the snowfall, there was not even the sign of habitation. No, I thought it was a cat. Or a Dracula. Either way, it was snuffling around the cat food bowls. When we had gone about a mile, I was tired with the heavy walking and sat down to rest. Then we looked back and saw where the clear line of Dracula's castle cut the sky, for we were so deep under the hill whereon it was set that the angle of perspective of the Carpathian Mountains was far below it. We saw it in all its grandeur, perched 1,000 feet on the summit of a sheer precipice, and with seemingly a great gap between it and the steep of the adjacent mountain on any side. There was something wild and uncanny about the place. We could hear the distant howling of wolves. They were far off, but the sound, even though coming muffled through the deadening snowfall, was full of terror. I knew from the way Dr. Van Helsing was searching about that he was trying to seek some strategic point where we would be less exposed in case of attack. The rough roadway still led downwards. We could trace it through the drifted snow. Yeah, being Dracula sounds fun. You can walk around alone at night. You can pretend to be asleep when Van Helsing is trying to talk to you or whatever. Sounds pretty good. In a little while, the professor signaled to me, so I got up and joined him. He had found a wonderful spot, a sort of natural hollow in a rock with an entrance like a doorway between two boulders. He took me by the hand and drew me in. See, he said, here you will be in shelter, and if the wolves do come, I can meet them one by one. He's found a choke point. I think Dracula's using Roll20. You can see exactly how far apart everything is. He brought in our furs and made a snug nest for me, and got out some provisions and forced them upon me. But I could not eat. To even try to do so was repulsive to me, and much as I would have liked to please him, I could not bring myself to the attempt. He looked very sad, but did not reproach me. Taking his field glasses from the case, he stood on the top of the rock and began to search the horizon. Suddenly he called out, "Look, Madame Mina, look, look!" I sprang up and stood beside him on the rock. He handed me his glasses and pointed. The snow was now falling more heavily and swirled about fiercely, for a high wind was beginning to blow. However, there were times when there were pauses between the snow flurries, and I could see a long way around. From the height where we were, it was possible to see a great distance, and far off, beyond the white waste of snow, I could see the river lying like a black ribbon in kinks and curls as it wound its way. Straight in front of us, and not far off, in fact so near that I wondered we had not noticed before, came a group of mounted men hurrying along. In the midst of them was a cart, a long Leiterwagen which swept from side to side like a dog's tail wagging, with each stern inequality of the road. Outlined against the snow as they were, I could see from the men's clothes that they were peasants or Roma of some kind. Obviously, the word isn't Roma. It's public domain. I can change whatever I want. On the cart was a great square chest. My heart leapt as I saw it, for I felt that the end was coming. The evening was now drawing close, and well I knew that at sunset the thing, which was till then imprisoned there, would take new freedom and could in any of many forms elude all pursuit. In fear I turned to the professor. To my consternation, however, he was not there. An instant later I saw him below me. Round the rock he had drawn a circle, such as we had found shelter in last night. When he had completed it, he stood beside me again, saying, "At least you shall be safe here from him." He took the glasses from me, rude, and at the next lull of the snow swept the whole space below us. "See," he said, "they come quickly. They are flogging the horses and galloping as hard as they can." He paused and went on in a hollow voice, "They are racing for the sunset. We may be too late. God's will be done." Down came another blinding rush of driving snow, and the whole landscape was blotted out. It soon passed, however, and once more his glasses were fixed on the plain. Then came a sudden cry, "Look! Look!" See, 2 horsemen follow fast, coming up from the south. It must be Quincy and John. Take the glass. Look before the snow blots it all out. I took it and looked. The 2 men might be Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris. I knew at all events that neither of them was Jonathan. At the same time, I knew that Jonathan was not far off. Looking around, I saw on the north side of the coming party 2 other men, riding at breakneck speed. One of them I knew was Jonathan, and the other I took, of course, to be Lord Godalming. They, too, were pursuing the party with the cart. When I told the professor, he shouted in glee like a schoolboy, and after looking intently till a snowfall made sight impossible, he laid his Winchester rifle ready for use against the boulder at the opening of our shelter. They are all converging, he said. When the time comes, we shall have Roma on all sides. Is it appropriate to say Roma? I'm going to keep saying Roma instead of the G word. I got out my revolver ready to hand. Oh, Mina's got a revolver now. For whilst we were speaking, the howling of wolves came closer and closer. When the snowstorm abated a moment, we looked again. It was strange to see the snow falling in such heavy flakes close to us, and beyond the sun shining more and more brightly as it sank down towards the far mountain tops. Sweeping the glass all round us, I could see here and there dots moving singly and in 2s and 3s and larger numbers. The wolves were gathering for their prey. Every instant seemed an age whilst we waited. Yeah, I can't think of an alternative word at present that would make sense in context and wouldn't be the G word, so I could say Muppets, but that might... I'm not saying that Roma people are Muppets. I'm back on it, the Alistair Cookie Dracula thing. I'm not going to say Muppets. We can have another read of, a classic book where I describe one group of people as Muppets. Travelers? Travelers could work. I think if we're happy with Roma, we should stick with Roma. Just like travelers in this context, it kind of makes me think of German students with big backpacks, which is also really funny. But anyway, Danny's happy with Roma. We're going with Roma. Every instant seemed an age whilst we waited. The wind came now in fierce bursts, and the snow was driven with fury as it swept upon us in circling eddies. Black? I can't do that. Black? Is that right? At times we could not see an arm's length before us, but at others, as the hollow-sounding wind swept by us. I'm not calling them tinkers. Good heavens. Soldier, tailor, tinker, Dracula. I'm just going to get on with it. Danny's spoken. I'm getting on with it. We had of late been so accustomed to watch for sunrise and sunset that we knew with fair accuracy when it would be, and we knew that before long the sun would set. It was hard to believe that by our watches it was less than an hour that we waited in that rocky shelter before the various bodies began to converge close upon us. The wind came now with fiercer and more bitter sweeps, and more steadily from the north. It seemingly had driven the snow clouds from us, for with only occasional bursts the snow fell. We could distinguish clearly the individuals of each party, the pursued and the pursuers. Strangely enough, those pursued did not seem to realize, or at least to care, that they were pursued. They seemed, however, to hasten with redoubled speed as the sun dropped lower and lower on the mountain tops. Professor see these people through the naked eye? Yeah, I thought it would be, probably, from context. We're only going to need it a few times. Closer and closer they drew. The professor and I crouched down behind our rock and held our weapons ready. I could see that he was determined that they should not pass. One and all. Sorry. One and all were quite unaware of our presence. All at once, two voices shouted out, "Halt!" One was my Jonathan's, raised in a high key of passion. The other, Mr. Morris's strong, resolute tone of quiet command. the, the Roma may not have known the language, but there was no mistaking the tone, in whichever tongue the words were spoken. Instinctively, they reined in, and at the instant, Lord Godalming and Jonathan dashed up at one side, and Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris on the other. The leader of the Roma, a splendid-looking fellow who sat his horse like a centaur, waved them back, and in a fierce voice gave to his companions some word to proceed. They lashed the horses, which sprang forward, but the four men raised their Winchester rifles and in an unmistakable way commanded them to stop. At the same moment, Dr. Van Helsing and I rose behind the rock and pointed our weapons at them. Seeing that they were surrounded, the men tightened their reins and drew up. The leader turned to them and gave a word at which every man of the Roma party drew what weapon he carried, knife or pistol, and held himself in readiness to attack. Issue was joined in an instant. And just before I describe the battle, I'll let Flora outside. Outside? I'm wearing a more relaxed bra, that's why they look a little bit droopier than usual. They're not. That wasn't part of Dracula. That was just me. The leader, with a quick movement of his rein, threw his horse out in front, and pointing first to the sun, now close down on the hilltops, and then to the castle, said something which I did not understand. For answer, all four men of our party threw themselves from their horses and dashed towards the cart. I should have felt terrible fear at seeing Jonathan in such danger, but that the ardour of battle must have been upon me as well as the rest of them. I felt no fear, but only a wild, surging desire to do something. I've been there. Seeing the quick movement of our parties, the leader of the Roma gave a command. His men instantly formed round the cart in a sort of undisciplined endeavour, each one shouldering and pushing the other in his eagerness to carry out the order. In the midst of this, I could see that Jonathan on one side of the ring of men, and Quincy on the other, was forcing a way to the cart. It was evident that they were bent on finishing their task before the sun should set. Nothing seemed to stop or even to hinder them. Neither the levelled weapons nor the flashing knives of the Roma in front, nor the howling of the wolves behind, appeared to even attract their attention. Jonathan's impetuosity and the manifest singleness of his purpose seemed to overawe those in front of him. Instinctively they cowered aside and let him pass. In an instant he had jumped upon the cart, and with a strength which seemed incredible, raised the great box and flung it over the wheel to the ground. In the meantime, Mr. Morris had to use force to pass through his side of the ring of Roma. All the time I had been breathlessly watching Jonathan, I had, with the tail of my eye, seen him pressing desperately forward, and had seen the knives of the Roma flash as he won a way through them, and they cut at him. He had parried with his great bowie knife, and at first I thought that he too had come through in safety. But as he sprang beside Jonathan, who had by now jumped from the cart, I could see that with his left hand he was clutching at his side, and that the blood was spurting through his fingers. He did not delay, notwithstanding this, for as Jonathan, with desperate energy, attacked one end of the chest, attempting to prise off the lid with his great kukri knife, he attacked the other frantically with his bowie. Under the efforts of both men, the lid began to yield. The nails drew with a quick screeching sound, and the top of the box was thrown back. By this time, the Roma, seeing themselves covered by the Winchesters and at the mercy of Lord Gadami and Dr. Seward, had given in and made no resistance. The sun was almost down on the mountain tops, and the shadows of the whole group fell long upon the snow. I saw the Count, lying within the box upon the earth, some of which the rood falling from the cart had scattered over him. He was deathly pale, just like a waxen image, and the red eyes glared with the horrible, vindictive look which I knew too well. As I looked, the eyes saw the sinking sun, and the look of hate in them turned to triumph. But on the instant came the sweep and flash of Jonathan's great knife. I shrieked as I saw it tear through the throat, whilst at the same time Mr. Morris's bowie knife plunged into the heart. It was like a miracle. Before our very eyes, and almost in the drawing of a breath, the whole body crumbled into dust and passed from our sight. I shall be glad as long as I live that even in that moment of final dissolution, there was in the face a look of peace, such as I never could have imagined might have rested there. The castle of Dracula now stood out against the red sky, and every stone of its broken battlements was articulated against the light of the setting sun. The Roma, taking us as in some way the cause of the extraordinary disappearance of the dead man, turned without a word and rode away as if for their lives. There's no possibility that they knew exactly what had happened, that they knew what Dracula was. No. Those who were unmounted jumped upon the lighter wagon and shouted to the horsemen not to desert them. The wolves, which had withdrawn to a safe distance, followed in their wake, leaving us alone. Mr. Morris, who had sunk to the ground, leaned on his elbow, holding his hand pressed to his side. The blood still gushed through his fingers. I flew to him, for the holy circle did not now keep me back. So did the two doctors. Jonathan knelt behind him, and the wounded man laid back his head on his shoulder. With a sigh, he took, with a feeble effort, my hand in that of his own, which was unstained. He must have seen the anguish of my heart in my face. But he smiled at me and said, "I am only too happy to have been of any service." "Oh God," he cried suddenly, struggling up to a sitting posture and pointing to me. "It was worth this to die. Look, look." The sun was now right down upon the mountain top, and the red gleams fell upon my face, so that it was bathed in rosy light. With one impulse the men sank on their knees, and a deep and earnest "Amen" broke from all, as their eyes followed the pointing of his finger. The dying man spoke. "Now God be thanked that all has not been in vain. See, the snow is not more stainless than her forehead. The curse has passed away." And to our bitter grief, with a smile and in silence, he died, a gallant gentleman. Note. it's so anticlimactic. Like, they're like, we intercept this box before sunset, we can kill Dracula, everything will be fine. And then, right in the nick of time, they do it. And then it's just finished, it's done. Note, 19 years later on the Hogwarts Express. 7 years ago, we all went through the flames. And the unhappiness of some of us. Sorry, I'm projecting my own issues onto the note. Note, 7 years ago, we all went through the flames. And the happiness of some of us since then is, we think, well worth the pain we endured. It is an added joy to Mina and to me that our boy's birthday is the same day as that on which Quincy Morris died. His mother holds, I know, the secret belief that some of our brave friend's spirit has passed into him. His bundle of names links all our little band of men together, but we call him Quincy. So you see the Harry Potter naming thing? It's got a great tradition behind it, a great, stupid tradition. In the summer of this year, we made a journey to Transylvania and went over the old ground which was and is to us so full of vivid and terrible memories. It was almost impossible to believe that the things which we had seen with our own eyes and heard with our own ears were living truths. Every trace of all that had been was blotted out. The castle stood as before, reared high above a waste of desolation. When we got home, we were talking of the old time, which we could all look back on without despair, for Godalming and Seward are both happily married. Yep, that's right. We've all got women now, and our woman has a child. So we're all happy. It doesn't actually matter, like the rest of it. It's fine. It's fine now. I took the papers from the safe where they had been ever since I returned so long ago. We were struck with the fact that in all the massive material of which the record is composed, there is hardly one authentic document, nothing but a mass of typewriting, except the later notebooks of Mina and Seward and myself, and Van Helsing's memorandum. We could hardly ask anyone, even did we wish to accept these as proofs of so wild a story. Van Helsing summed it all up as he said, with our boy on his knee. We want no proofs. We ask none to believe us. This boy will some day know what a brave and gallant woman his mother is. Already he knows her sweetness and loving care. Later on he will understand how some men so loved her that they did dare much for her sake. Jonathan Harker, the end. Weird ending. Weird ending. There's a theory that it's not like a literary theory, it's like an idiot theory that Little Quincy, I'm remembering this now, I'd forgotten that, is Big Quincy's son, which, how would that work? Unless you assume that Mina was great with child throughout the telling of Dracula. But then, when would Quincy Morris have impregnated her? We don't know. It's very silly. But yeah, that was Dracula. And ended in a very peculiar way. Yeah. Someday. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it telegraphed, "Oh, my plan has nearly come to fruition. Oh, no, it isn't. The good guys won, as good must always do." See, we love endings where the bad guys win because we live in reality. We live in a post-World War One world, which the Victorians didn't. Yeah, he just kind of ran out of ideas. He didn't climax. It was a massive dry hump, and Quincy Jr. is the result. And so the ending basically is someday, young man, you'll find out the truth that the undead are very real. And also, at one point, your mother was so hot. She had these 5 dudes fucking pussy whipped. We went all the way to Transylvania. Shit was crazy. So I bet Quincy Jr. is looking forward to that. But yeah, we made it, everybody. We made it. Oh, no, that wasn't a cat either. We made it all the way to the end of Dracula. Thank you, Nick. Ah, Danny, he absolutely didn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also like vampire stories with the vampire ones. Just my opinion. Thank you, Josh. Thank you. I have no idea what you see in these readings, but I love doing them, so awesome. Well, starting tomorrow, we are going to begin Wuthering Heights, and then you'll be able to say you've read that. It's Wuthering Heights. I asked people to vote on which book I should do, like full-length novel, and Dracula and Wuthering Heights were exactly tied. So I decided to do Dracula first, just because alphabetically, you know. So yeah, you'll be able to say you've read Wuthering Heights, and then after that, I'm thinking Frankenstein maybe. And also, it's really good because I'm revisiting these books as an adult, and I'm just finding so much more in them, you know, than I did as a rowdy teen. I've read Wuthering Heights again as an adult. It's my favorite book, but not in years and years and years. Like 10 years, probably. That's not true. You pretend to be a man who is pretending to be married to a lady who I pretend to be in a game. And I read, and yeah, I read you stories. That part of it, that part of it's never quite sounds like something people actually do and enjoy, but it's like an interactive audiobook. And also you can see, and also I go on tangents and yell at people a lot, and sometimes I'm really tired. Pretty good. And there's a lot of sniffling. So wow, this was a 1.5 hour effort. That was a solid 90-minute movie of a finale. 90 minutes is the length all movies should be. I don't want to be in the cinema longer than that. I mean, if they're longer than that, they should have an intermission. Just my opinion. But yeah, thanks. Thanks everybody for liking this and sticking with it and being here parasocially with me. It's kind of become like a routine almost, except I don't like routines. But yeah, it's become a thing I do every day and I really like it. So thank you for that. I will be beginning a new medication tomorrow, so we'll see how we go with that. Yes, I should do intermission. I should figure out. I should stream the next one on Twitch. Wait, no, that won't work because they don't keep their recordings, do they? So go to the lobby. Yes, I should do that. What I'll do is, right, I'll queue up the, let's all go to the lobby video, and then I'll hold my phone in front of the camera, like I'll sticky tape it, while I go away and make a cup of tea. It'll be really good. It'll be technically incredible. Oh, I can't wait to try poutine once lockdown's over. I have to remember to buy some instant gravy tomorrow. If I can't have poutine, I can have chips and gravy. And figure out what to eat for lunch. But yeah, thanks everybody. This is really cool. I might do a short story between this and there's a short scary story in the book, the family relic book of short horror stories. There are two actually that are all in Scots dialect. Maybe I'll read one of those and it could be funny for us all. But yeah, I will see. Oops. I will see some of you later on in Stardew Valley, maybe. And I will see Evelyn tomorrow. The real tomorrow. My once a week hug. Oh, I'm gonna have a shower. I'm gonna wear deodorant. It's gonna be crazy. You're gonna be like, wow, this bitch's brain works. Okay, thanks everybody. See you later. Wash your hands, stay safe. Don't invite anyone in words.